ladies, welcome back to my channel. So today I really wanted to talk to you guys about self-care. What's really kind of fun is I put on our Facebook page and gave you guys a choice between two topics. I did is self-care selfish and meditation for beginners, and you guys really wanted to see this one first, so we will do meditation for beginners next week. Now I really think this is something super important because as women, we naturally put everybody before ourselves, don't we? Like whether we have kids or not, whatever it may be. And it is really important to take care of yourself and to have self-care. But a lot of the time we struggle with, is self-care selfish? Am I being selfish? I hear the analogy an awful lot that, you can't pour from an empty cup. And I really think that's a great analogy for this, because self-care is really you taking care of yourself. You cannot do a lot for other people if you're not taking care of you. So today I'm going to give you guys some advice and some tips and some ideas that don't cost an awful lot of money that are really great forms of self-care. Now, I do a lot of these things. These are a lot of things that are kind of my favorite things. To answer any questions that I know you guys are going to have, it is not selfish of you to take some time for yourself. You being burnt out, you being exhausted, you feeling overwhelmed and stressed is not good for you, and it's definitely not good for anybody else around you. So it is vital that you take care of yourself. There are a lot of different schools of thought around self-care and how often you should be doing it. I think you really need to take sort of inventory of yourself and your life and decide from there how often you need something like this, because it's different for everybody, because obviously everybody's lives are different. I have read that you should be doing an hour of self-care a day. While that would be super amazing, not everybody has an hour a day. So it really depends on your family, your life, and kind of your environment, how often you need this. So for a lot of people, an hour a day is very difficult. I am of the school of thought that one evening a week or one day a week is really good, and I think it's achievable and a lot easier and less stress than an hour a day. I do think, however, that there are some things that you can work into your daily schedule. It may not be an hour, but it could be little bits and pieces of self-care that you can have throughout your entire day. Now, one thing that I do every day, and it actually drives my boyfriend a little insane, but I listen to an audiobook or a podcast while I take a shower. I crank it up so I can hear it over the water, close the doors, and that's what I do. I shower and I listen to an audiobook that I love or a podcast I've been wanting to listen to, but I make sure that it's not work related. Because I work at home and because I have a business, it is really easy for me to constantly be surrounded by that, and that is not a good form of self-care. So I often make sure it's just a book I wanted to read for fun, something fiction, non-work related, or a podcast that's just kind of fun to listen to. So that's what I do when I shower, and then I continue my podcast or my audiobook while I get ready for the day. So if I'm getting dressed or if I'm putting makeup on or any of those things, I make sure and I listen to my audiobook and my podcast. So that's a really easy way to work a little bit of self-care into your day. It's probably easy for those of us that don't have children because I know mommies don't always get to shower by yourself, but that's easy for me, and it's a way that I can really incorporate that into my everyday without feeling pressure of that I need to do an hour today of self-care. Now, one evening a week, as we discussed, I think is a really wonderful, achievable form of self-care. Now, what you really need to decide and agree with yourself is that your self-care is going to be a non-negotiable must-do for you. Like I discussed already, we as women tend to kind of put our own needs and things aside based on everyone else. And while I know this may be circumstantial, it's really important for you to put it in your calendar, put it in your phone, make a date with yourself to do this at least one evening, one afternoon, one morning, whatever works best for you in your schedule, a week where you focus on you refill your cup, and you make sure that you are functioning at a really wonderful sort of self-love level. So I have some ideas here of some really great self-care. I'll start with the ones that are free or cost very little money, and then I'll give you some ideas of some things that do cost a bit of money but You know, it really depends on you, your budget, and kind of your circumstances at the time. Now, when I'm going to do something at home, a form of self-care at home, I like to sort of set my environment. I like to have candles burning like you see behind me. Over here to my right, I have my oil diffuser going. I love that. I also have an incense burner. So I like smell. And for me, smell, the flicker of a candle or my diffuser, it makes me feel good and it makes the room feel more warm. When it's dark out, I come in here, my meditation space, and I turn my lights on that you see here, and it just makes this part of this room feel very warm and inviting, and I call it glowy. So some ideas for self-care. Now, I'm a bath person. I absolutely love to take a bath. So for me, the first thing I tend to go to if I'm feeling stressed and I want to do some self-care is I will take a bath. I will do a bubble bath, or I will use a bath bomb, or I will use essential oils with a bath bomb or bubbles. I will just make it super smelly and lovely. And a lot of the time I will turn the lights off, I will turn a diffuser on, or I'll use candles and, you know, just make it very dark. And for me, it's calming, it's peaceful, and it feels very low stress. I will either look at my phone, like I'll look at Pinterest or something that I've like research recipes or just something for fun. I'll watch a goofy YouTube video that I've been wanting to watch. I'll read a book while I'm in there, or I'll just turn on some music and just lay there. So it really depends on what you need at the time. You can definitely change it around to work best for you, but my go-to is often a bath. Another great form of self-care that's free is to go to bed early. I know this is hard for people, and this is not something that I do very well, just because this is not a go-to self-care for me, because going to bed early, it just isn't my thing. But I know it is for a lot of people. So if you're a mom or you have a busy work life or anything like that, it's okay one evening a week if you want to go to bed early. Just to take better care of yourself. If you're feeling exhausted and overwhelmed, go to bed an hour early and you will be surprised at how much better you feel the next day. Now, another great option is to take a walk. Whether you walk around your neighborhood, or if you live near a beach, head to the beach. That would be my number one. Or if you're near a lake or a park, or even if you just want to go to the mall. It's really great to kind of change your scenery and take a walk and do a little bit of physical activity to make yourself feel better. That's not a go-to for a lot of people, but I really think fresh air does you an awful lot of good. So if you're feeling stressed and you just want to get away, take a walk. Now, something I like to do quite a bit is to journal. I like to write, and whether it be on my computer or in an actual journal, that is a really wonderful form of self-care, because your journal is the place where you don't really have to be filtered. You don't have to worry about, hopefully, somebody reading what you're saying. So if you really just need to vent, or you need to get your feelings out, or you really need to work through some things, a journal or typing it out on a computer, something is a really great way to do that, because you feel like you get it all out and you're done. I really think journaling is a wonderful form of self-care to really sort of clear your brain and help you feel much more centered and together. Now, I've already mentioned this a little bit when I was talking about taking a bath, but read a book. Make sure it's a non-work related book. Much like I do with my podcast or my audio book in the morning when I get ready, I make sure it's a non-work related book. Because a lot of the time, or whatever stresses you, whether it's a mommy book or whether it's a workbook or anything, definitely make sure it's a book that you're reading for pleasure. It's something you're doing for fun, something you don't have to think an awful lot about, and it's just fun. I know that there's a lot of different apps and things that you can use for audiobooks. Audible's my favorite because it's Amazon driven, so you can really get any book possible on audio through Amazon if it's available that way. So that's kind of my choice for who I use for audiobooks, but that's really, really a great thing to do for self-care. Read a book, listen to a book, or a podcast. I really think this next one is a vital form of self-care that we should all be doing at least one evening a week or every evening in the week, and that's to unplug from social media. Now, social media is something that a lot of us really love, and obviously I'm on an awful lot. It's a huge part of my life because of what I do, but it's also very important for your mental health and your self-care to unplug from social media for a minute. Now, what you need to realize is what a lot of the things that we see on social media are skewed a bit. And it is very easy for us to start to compare our life to what we're seeing on social media. And that can often cause us a good bit of stress. That can often cause us to feel like we're failing. That can often cause us to feel like, well, my life doesn't look like this. What am I doing wrong? It's really, really dangerous when you go to that comparison place with social media, but it's very, very easy to do. And it's something that we all do. So I really think this is a perfect form of self-care for anybody who spends a lot of time in social media. I do this in the evenings if we're watching a movie or watching TV. I don't open my social media app. I get notifications on my phone naturally because I have it set up that way, but I will ignore them. And I'll thumb through Pinterest, or I'll thumb through something else that I don't consider to be social media. So I really think for anybody who spends a lot of time there, it's wonderful for your mental health and self-care to unplug, put Facebook and Instagram and all those things down for a minute and just take an evening away. Now, something I love to do as a form of self-care is to watch a favorite TV show. For me, it's Friends. I love Friends. It is my favorite TV show of all time. Jimmy absolutely loathes it when I turn it on, but it is my favorite show. It's also the show that I watch when I'm at my most stressed. So if I don't feel good or things aren't going right or I feel super, super stressed, I will turn Friends on. And that's really a clue to those people around me that something's going on. So whatever your favorite show may be, spend some time, watch a few episodes, or if you have a movie that you love, spend some time doing that. Those are really great forms of self-care, anything that makes you happy, and it doesn't matter. Everybody pretty much these days has more than one TV in their house. So if your spouse, partner, or significant other wants to watch something on TV that you don't want to watch, head to the other room and watch whatever you want to watch that's good for you for your evening of self-care. And likely it's good for you both to spend a little time apart. That's very healthy and normal. Just make sure you're communicating with each other from the standpoint of, hey, I really need an evening to do some self-care. I'm feeling a little stressed. Because everybody has different needs. So just communicate that to your significant other, your spouse, or your partner. And you know, if they're sweet, they'll completely understand and be totally fine with you going in the other room. I know Jimmy loves it because then he doesn't feel like he has to watch something he doesn't want to watch, or watch something that he knows I'm gonna hate, or whatever. So he feels free to watch whatever makes him happy. I can go watch whatever makes me happy. Everybody's happy. Now, you can do some coloring. I know this sounds kind of crazy. The adult coloring books kind of came onto the scene a few years ago and everybody loved it and it kind of faded, but I love to color. It's really fun. So if you're one of those people that loves to be creative in that way, grab a coloring book and do some adult coloring. It's a great form of self-care. Spa night. Now, a really wonderful form of self-care is to have a spa night. You can do a DIY mani-pedi for yourself. You can do a face mask. You can do hair treatments. You can do whatever it is that you want to do to make yourself feel great for a spa night at home. And a lot of the time, the at-home stuff doesn't cost a lot of money. So I think that's a really great option. Do a spa night. Have a face mask. Look a little crazy. Do your nails. You'll feel great the next day. Now, 3 more things on my list of free or inexpensive ideas for self-care. The first one of those things is yoga. There are a lot of really great apps for yoga that you can search on your phone. You can download and use. You can also look on YouTube. They have some really wonderful yoga that you can take on YouTube. There's a lot of options out there for that. So yoga is great. It makes you feel wonderful. You can stretch. You can really sort of center yourself, focus on your breathing and think, you know, just breathe. And so yoga is a really wonderful form of self-care, and it's also really great for your body and your stress levels. So that's a really great option. Something I love to do is bake or cook or play in the kitchen or do anything like that. That's a lot of fun for me. It's not something I do a lot, but it's something that I will get the urge to do every so often. I love to look at recipes on Pinterest. It's one of my favorite things to do. I have tons and tons of things saved, but it's a really fun thing for me to do is cook or bake or do anything creative that way in the kitchen. I love to create new recipes. I love to change recipes I've tried. So that's a really fun form of self-care for me. But I know for some people it's not, because that equals dishes, that equals mess, that equals a lot of things. So it's not something I do an awful lot, like I said, but it's a really great idea. Now, the last thing that I want to talk to you guys about in terms of free or very inexpensive forms of self-care is to meditate. Now, next week's video will be meditation for beginners because I think it's just so crazy important to your life and your sanity. But And I honestly will admit I don't do it enough. Like, I get to a point where I'm stressed and the first thing I do is not to meditate, and it really should be. So I'm making an active effort to incorporate that more into my daily routine, because you feel so great afterwards. So definitely check out next week's video for meditation for beginners. There's a lot of really fun options, but meditation is an awesome form of self-care. All right, now I have a few ideas for you guys that do cost a bit of money that are some fun form of self-care, because I know everybody's on a different budget. And so if some people have some of those, extra dollars laying around at the end of your sort of pay week, it's really fun to go do some extra things. So you can head out and get a massage. You can do a manicure pedicure at your favorite sort of nail salon. That's a great option. You can take a class. You can go do a Zumba class or a yoga class or Pilates or an art class or a baking class or whatever kind of sounds fun. Make sure it's fun. It's not something stress-inducing, but you can go take a class. You can also pick to kind of have a date day with yourself. So if you want to go and you want to grab lunch by yourself, or you want to hit a new coffee shop, or you want to walk around the mall, or you want to go shopping, or you want to have that massage or mani-pedi, just have a date day. If you have a little extra time and money, head out and just do some things by yourself. So there you go, you guys. Those are my ideas for some really wonderful forms of self-care that are free or inexpensive. And honestly, it really just amounts to what brings you joy. What makes you happy? What things would you love to do that just make you feel giddy and excited? Because that's what your self-care should be. Those are the things that you should be doing to take care of yourself and make yourself feel better in those times of overwhelm. And if you find that you're doing this once a week, or incorporating an audiobook or some form of self-care into your sort of getting ready for the day routine, you will find that your stress levels are a bit lower, you feel better, and you're taking care of yourself. And by taking care of yourself, you are able to take care of all of those around you that much better. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope that these ideas will help you. If anybody else has any ideas or anything that they do for forms of self-care, make sure and put that in the comments below. Also, head on over to our Instagram and Facebook pages, because that's where your sisters hang out. It's a fun place. I'm posting some fun things there coming up really soon. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.